Well, you know things are good when you win by 17 points and you're not that excited about it.
Yeah,
it was an interesting. Yeah,
and win easily. That's never a bad thing.
Yeah,
that was the really kind of crazy game. I mean, you're talking about a game where you had Maryland come out of the gate like on fire, then kind of sag off a little bit, finish the half pretty well, go insane at the beginning of the second half, and then really sag off for another 10 minutes, and then absolutely shut the door on USC afterwards. A game they scored 88 points, and just, again, the term we've been using, it just kind of started with, and I think is perfect for this team, is they just have this way of playing with their food. And it's just like, it's like imagining our little kids when they're little, just, like pushing stuff around until finally we're like, all right, just eat the stuff so you can get out of the high chair. And then they eat the food and then they leave. And it's just such a weird team. Like, I mean, trust me, there are worse ways to watch a basketball season unfold where you have to put up with a little bit of this kind of weird stuff. But I mean, it's still a lot of fun.
Aaron, I think that's the game where you come out and realistically, these guys know that they're winning that game 99 out of 100 times. So you're not gonna get that full on desperation effort. Although I do think that they do have a bad habit. I need to go back and look at the games and kind of piece out all the times that they had a semi-comfortable lead or had a chance to make a comfortable lead and then let it go in some of those losses. Because anytime that thing feels like gets to around 9 to 11 points, they immediately, take their foot off the gas or start taking easy jumpers like they did today. They had a chance to get up like 20 quickly and just started chucking. Some of that was Miguel, evil Sultan Miguel showed up tonight. So some of it was that part.
Well, and look, it's human nature, right? If you get up 20 points in a basketball game, you can't keep up the level of intensity to be like, all right, now we got to double it to 40. It's the same thing you see across all sports. They say in soccer that the most unsafe lead in soccer is going up 2-0. Now, I don't totally believe that if you look at the analytics, but like, it's the idea that you get up and you start to get a little bit comfortable and then you give the other team a chance to come back. So yes, that's a little bit annoying, but again, watch how they basically, what I was talking about the other night, there are times when this team just cannot get a stop when they need one. It's like the only thing that just really bugs me a little bit, just in the back of my head, we're just like, man, if some other team in the NCAA tournament gets on a roll against them and they can't get a stop, like that could be the thing that knocks them out. And it feels like just the one thing that kind of bugs me a little. And it happened again tonight, that kind of 10-minute period between maybe the under 16 and then about the 6-8 minute mark towards the end of the game in the second half, where they just could not stop USC. They could not stop them at all. That weirdo with the porn stash came in and hit 3 threes on them. USC was getting every roll and every loose ball, but they also just were getting easy shots and making them. A number of those were dunks. They were doing a lot of kind of weird crisscrossy stuff underneath. And Maryland just didn't seem all that interested in playing defense. And then Kevin yelled at them in that one timeout that they showed on the broadcast. And it took them like 2 possessions to get it right. And I'm not sure USC scored again until that random 3 in garbage time. I mean, when they choose to turn it on both sides of the ball, they can turn it on.
Yeah,
it's just those little lull periods to worry about.
See, with the energy, though, that's the one thing. Because how many really, not including the UMass and I don't even remember, it's been so long, whoever else they played during the Cupcake March outside of those games, even though they're playing great and winning a lot of games, it's not like they're regularly smashing all these teams that they should beat by 30. So, I mean, it's not a major concern, but it's a little bit of a character flaw. And then, the other day, I said, not to harp on the Miguel thing, but I said to you guys, it felt like he's the X factor because everybody else is a little more consistent. He's like one day, 24 points, 6 of 8 from 3. Next day, whatever he was tonight, I haven't seen the box score since it went final. So
how about Rodney Rice, man?
4
that
for
guy
12
is becoming an absolute monster. Like he
looks like a star next year, and he's gotten really good at drawing fouls too. He gets up to that basket so quick, and with no hesitation looking for contact.
The driving now, the pull-up mid-range, he can get to the bucket. Like he is getting really good.
He's also an interesting guy because we talked about this earlier in the season about how he's incredibly good at just making his own shots, right? He can make his own shot off the bounce. He does all those, kind of finds a way to get himself into the lane and hit those kind of weird leaning 10, 12 footers. Like he's just a bucket getter. I mean, he's just a guy, when things aren't really going right. Basically, there are two, Maryland has three different ways on three different levels to beat you when things aren't going great on the offensive end. We talked a lot about Kevin Willard doesn't coach offense. It's like, okay, cool. Well, if you've got guys who can score at all three levels, you don't need to coach offense. I mean, you've got three guys who are shooting 37% or above from three-pointers. Those guys can hit one and get you back in the game. You got the two big guys down low, and you got guys like Miguel and especially Rice who really thrive in that mid-range game. And Rice, I'm telling you, once he gets in the lane, he is absolutely deadly. He's just gotten better as the season's gone along.
Julian Reese, too, man. His shooting, obviously the free throw shooting, but his mid-range jumper, too, he's very – I have no problem when he's taking 10, 12 footers. Every time, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very consistent.
Derek Queen is not as consistent with those. Queen also tries to fade away. Sometimes he's on 1 foot. He doesn't usually get quite set. Like he's kind of, you know what I mean?
What about that double spin move though? The double spin move into the
wow.
That was pretty much when that happened. I thought to myself, that looks like the kind of play that sets it off. That it pretty much ends the game. Because USC was coming back at that point. They had it down to 6 or 7, and he did that, and then it wasn't really in doubt after that. I mean, it was incredible football.
Incredible move, obviously a pro move, and that was the type of thing he kind of needed that too, because that missed dunk and then that kind of weird turnover in the first half or earlier in the game kind of shut down that run and gave USC a way back in the game. So. I will say with Derek, it was a little interesting just because there were times he was feeling himself a little bit when he wanted to kind of be that point forward, bringing the ball up just about every trip. And that got a little bit out of hand. But you know what? That's fine. He's earned that. It's whatever.
And you know what? I was looking at the stats. Larry, you mentioned Rice. So in the past 4 games, Rodney Rice has scored 73 points. On, I don't know what his percentage is, over 50%. He's getting to the line like 5 times a game, making 80% of them. So he's actually, no, even if you take it back a little farther than that. So here's his last 7 games: 22 points, 18, 14, 19, 18, 16, and 23 for Rice.
And you had the question from Colin McAleer. Are we sure Rice isn't a lottery pick? I mean,
yes, we're sure.
If he was 4 inches taller, he might be a lottery pick. But he could play in the NBA, which is a lot more than anybody would have said when everybody thought he was, some.
Well, if you compare his game, Jeff, a little bit to Wiggins. I mean, he does have a little bit of that because Wiggins had that kind of mid-range, old school game to go with an improving 3-point stroke. And then as he got older, he got a little bit better at getting to the basket and finishing. And you see a little bit of that.
He doesn't have the unworldly hops that Wiggins had, but otherwise I can see it. And he's got that thing going for him, Rice, too, where those lanky, light guys, you go to the basket, and because you're so light, any contact is going to affect you, and you're going to get a lot of foul calls. So that's crazy. I mean, I need to average that out, but it looks like he's damn near averaging about 18 a game in the past 7 games, which is unbelievable.
A bit better asked which players from the team get drafted. 4 of them, all the starters except Miguel, maybe could get drafted.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Like we've talked about this in the past. Part of the issue with Turpson's teams, but he had some good college basketball players, but he didn't have a lot of pros. How many pros are on this team right now? I mean, you got to think at least
4.
At least 2, maybe 3.
Reese is going to get drafted.
Reese is going to be an interesting case.
I don't think Reese gets drafted. I don't think he does.
I think he gets like a second round. Like
he's not big enough. He can't shoot far out enough. I mean, I'm not an NBA guy. I'll defer to Jeff on that, but it doesn't feel like he's got that kind of.
He's going to have to work his way into that by showing, because he hasn't shown any ball handling, any face-up game really, except for that. Although that little short pull-up is becoming very consistent, but can you get away with that in the NBA? Obviously, he doesn't shoot threes at all. And these days, these teams are taking 60 threes a game or whatever it is. So I think he has a chance to catch on or work his way up like Jameer Young. He wasn't drafted. He's already going to be maybe debuting for the Bulls, I think, the next day or two, his first NBA action. But, he's going to have to scrap his way there. But obviously Queen is, I think Gillespie clearly is. He's so such a great shooter, and he's so good at getting his shot. He can get a shot anytime he wants, and he's sneaky athletic. Defense, I think, is the question with him. A lot of times bigger guys shoot right over him. So I think that's the biggest thing. And we'll see with Rice, anything's possible. Obviously, Queen is, a lottery pick probably.
Jeff, question from WJM3. Did any recruits come to the game tonight?
I don't believe so. I'm actually going to double check on that. I'm glad he asked that. I'll check on that and report back in the morning.
Here's the stats on Wiggins and Rice. Wiggins is 6'5", Reese is 6'4". Also,
Hops more than the height is the issue there.
Hey, anybody who's refreshing the Ken Palm stuff and Torvik stuff, put it in the chat for us when you figure that. I want to.
Hey, and more important than that, I need my Hazelmetrics for the night.
And Hazelmetrics,
we gotta get our Hazelmetrics for the night.
I want to see what the numbers are. So if whoever's doing that, watch it. Just throw them in the chat for us. There was another question back.
Anthony Cowan was there tonight. That was nice.
Anthony Cowan. It never makes no sense, asks, does this season have any effect on recruiting? I mean, it has to. When you see someone come in like Queen come in, other top players are going to say, hey, you can do that at Maryland. Transfers are going to say, hey, look what you can do at Maryland, right? It has to have some positive effect.
Especially the bigs, because guards can do well anywhere. It's not that many bigs who can come and immediately do what Queen has done, probably be an all-conference first-team player most likely. So that's a really good sales pitch for whoever's next. And then obviously the Twin Tower thing to be able to make that work. So it definitely helps, but we know now, money is officially a part of the equation now, so everything else matters a little bit less.
Weren't they Ken Palm 14? Weren't they already 14? I guess 17-point win.
I think they were 13, weren't they? Weren't they 13?
I thought they were 15, but I could be wrong.
Maybe they had dropped to 16 or something.
So basically,
they 14 and then Michigan State jumping, so maybe they just flipped back. Yeah, something like that.
Basically, they won by what they should have won by, not that much more or less.
17 versus 11. That's a solid Ken Palm win.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's fine. I mean, I don't need Ken Palm anymore. This team's good. I mean, it's a top four. It's a top 4 seed level good. I think the interesting thing will be how they finish this season. We talked about this tricky stretch they've got coming up now. They got 6 days off before this next game. Michigan State at home. You've got to get that one, don't you? I mean, you just feel like you've got to get that one. And Michigan on the road, Penn State on the road, those are going to be tricky. You like 2 of those 3. You feel pretty good about 2 of those 3, and you finish Northwestern at home. A little bit of payback game there before the tournament. I mean, you could be looking at a team that could really play itself into a 3 seed if things go right here.
They definitely could get to a 3 seed
because they've got to be solidly on the 5 line, at worst on that 5-6 line. Where the issues with the bracket is some teams, because of all the Big Ten and the SEC teams that are going to be in these top lines, teams are going to get screwed because they've got to avoid conference rematches in the second round. So some team or other is going to get bumped up a seed line or bumped down a seed line to avoid that type of thing, and you want to make sure you're not one of them. So.
Yeah. And I know I'm harping on this, but in those past 7 games, Rodney Rice, I tallied it up, is averaging 18.6 a game, and that's crazy because he's like a forgotten guy to most people. It's all about Queen and Reese and Gillespie. So as well as those guys are playing, you got what most people view as a supporting guy, not one of the stars, putting up almost 19 a game for 7 games late in the season. But that just shows that starting lineup, man. If all goes well, it's very hard to beat a team that anyone on the floor can easily get 20 on you.
It's fun to see Jeff just so obsessed with the DeMatha player, he just can't stop talking about him. It's really, really beautiful thing to see.
Finally, Paul, finally. You got it to happen. Hey, WJM3S, how many of Maryland's players will make the big first and second teams?
Somebody hasn't been reading the site, apparently. Did you guys read what I put up today? I'm guessing no.
I did, but I don't remember exactly who you said was going to get what.
It wasn't super compelling, but I just asked a bunch of other media types who they thought would make it from Maryland and whether Queen would be Rookie of the Year. I think there is no consensus. It was kind of all over the place because it's freaking impossible to pick 5 guys from an 18-team league now. Like, you're like, oh, that guy should be, easily, but it's ridiculous. So, anyways, I think from their sentiment, it seemed like Queen most likely to be first team out of the crew, and maybe Gillespie second team. But I feel like you have to have Reese second team also. That's my guess. Queen first team, Gillespie and Reese second team.
I think you're going to get Queen first team, Gillespie second team, Reese third team. I think I haven't checked their season numbers, but I'm guessing Julian's numbers might not be compelling enough, and Derek's getting all the oxygen out of the team.
He's top 6 in the conference in rebounds, blocks, and field goal percentage.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I said
he's not. It's not his game is not as sexy as Queen or Gillespie. Yeah. That hurts him, and he's been around forever. So you're like, oh yeah, that guy's good. Whatever, But,
James Denny.
He leads the conference in double doubles also.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I thought you were done. Sorry, James Denny. What side are we hoping for in the NCAA tournament? I don't even know what the sites are.
I don't know what the sites are yet. You're asking a lot of my brain to start breaking that stuff down in mid-February. Yeah, I'm just happy for Maryland to be the top team in a pod somewhere. That would be great.
So it never makes no sense. Clarified for us, Maryland had dropped to 16 before the game because Ohio State got blown out. So did bump them back up 2 more spots.
Yeah, Northwestern beat Ohio State in Columbus by like 27 tonight or something silly.
I'll list off the first round locations, and you guys can tell me where we're hoping for. Obviously, Dayton. That'd be cool for certain people, but
certain people.
That's not. Fortunately, those people are also okay with it not being that kind of season where you start at Dayton. You got Lexington, Providence, Seattle, no thanks. Wichita, no thanks. Cleveland, Denver, Milwaukee, Raleigh. Raleigh's close. You got that's it.
Woof.
Yeah. I like Raleigh. It's 45 minutes from here. I'll go down and visit my kid.
Yeah, I don't want to be anywhere in that state ever. For
there's not many appealing ones if you're from the DMV. Not many good spots on that list.
Let's go to Rhode Island. I don't know. It's we got a lot of Northeasterners here. Let's just do it. But I don't know. Whatever. Maryland's going to the tournament. They're an absolute stone cold lock. They could lose every game from now, and they're still going. It's great. This is a nice thing. You should enjoy this. This is the way it should be every year. It's not going to be every year, but most years. And so, this is a good start. I think a lot of things we talk about, that you can be happy about, it's really just on top of kind of coming off that question about recruiting. I don't think it's just about recruiting because we're only recruiting so few high school kids anymore. It's about recruiting the portal. You can go into the portal now and say, hey, look what I did with this guy. What did I do with these 3 guys? Look, I brought in three new starters out of the portal. We went to a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 or whatever it ends up being. Had a great season. On top of the fact I had a freshman All-American and a senior, really good player who stayed all 4 years because he wanted to, because we made him happy. We paid him. We made him right. I mean, there's a lot of good stories to tell from this team. I mean, that's what's really exciting.
Imagine in December listening to February Paul saying these things. Where
well,
the was 2 months ago.
I was, dude, beginning of January, after that West Coast swing, I was shook. But like I said,
2-4 in the Big Ten, weren't they?
2-4 in conference, and really could have been 1-5, and it was scary. And you could imagine the wheels coming off a little bit. You know, a guy like Queen being like, "All right, I'm just playing for me now." You know, some of the transfers thinking about their way out, like it could have been really bad. But you know, this team really gelled. Willard did a great job of getting them together. But like I said, going back to the beginning of season, I did think they would get better as the season went on. So at least that seems to be playing out. It's just a matter of how much better can it get. And I think this 3-game stretch now is really going to tell you the tale of what it's going to look like in March, because these are tough games against tough opponents, 2 of them on the road. You got to find 2 out of 3. You get all 3 out of 3, we're going to get weird in this place, because then you're creeping.
That's when you're up to that's when you're up to a 3 seed.
Yeah, you're probably top
starting lineup balance.
You're pretty close to top 10 at that point.
Yeah.
The balance I'm looking at is the box score again. Queen Reese, 8 of 14 for 19 points. Queen, 5 of 19 for 13 points with 17 rebounds. Gillespie, 7 of 12 for 20 points. Rice, 6 of 12 for 22. And then Miguel was off, 4 of 12 for 11. But and then from the bench, real quick, blurt it out. How many points do you think the bench scored?
Zip'ems.
3.
Yeah. 0.
Free throw, and Geronimo got that breakaway dunk.
Oh, that's right. Really after missing the early dunk.
I've been trying to find it. I don't think it exists, but access.
I cheated. I looked at the box score. It's not like I remembered that.
Oh, that's bullshit. All right.
What?
Fair enough.
It was not like we're. I just happened to
look.
You're right.
Hey, Paul. What do you think of Jeff?
Right. You screwed it up. Jeff is right.
There we go.
Jeff's exactly right. Jeff is right. Jeff's exactly right. Jeff is right. Jeff's exactly right. This is my nightmare.
That's good. That's awesome.
I'm never giving you compliments ever again on this podcast for no reason whatsoever.
Putting that on my
phone. We already got it.
My wife's life hell.
That's all right. Yeah. When if you're right, you were probably agreeing with something I was going to say anyway.
Hey, I've been wrong plenty of times, man. I do not.
Well, I'll say you know me. I spend most of my time hoping I'm wrong because I'm usually down in the dumps about this stuff. So
here's a question from James Denny. Jeff, you can probably answer this the best. How much of our NIL budget needs to go to keep Gillespie and Rice in town?
A lot.
The best backcourt in the nation.
I would say probably over 1.5 million for the two, maybe upper 1.8 maybe
for both combined.
And that's just if Gillespie, which he should, gives you a little discount, because how much better could it have worked out? How much better of a situation, unless you're a total mercenary. He's found his home, but even so, he's $1 million player. And Rodney Rice, think about those numbers I just mentioned, and that's without really being featured a lot. Although they have gotten him the ball more. I know he wanted the ball in his hands more. They put it in his hands more lately, so that has something to do with numbers. But those two will cost a lot. You got to go get the bigs, so you got to have what I think they'll have is probably around $5 million.
There's a lot of Gapare chat breaking out. Gapare seems to have hit a wall. Is Gapare sick? I bet Gapare goes off in the big tourney. There's a positive one. And here's if DHS, and J, that's not Gapare, some upside. So what do you think about Gapare? He had that stretch where he looked like he was going to be the sixth man that they needed. But now
he averaged 19 a game for 3 games in the middle of the season. Is probably not scored 19 total since then. I think he did hit a wall a little bit. Hasn't been getting as many minutes, with Willard really focusing on the starting 5. And when he has shot, it hasn't been falling for him. So,
well, and to be,
what's that?
I was going to say, to be fair, he did miss 2 games for sickness. Yeah. And if you're sick enough that you're a high level college basketball player and you're missing 2 games over like a week and a half. So I think there was a bye in there. Like you're probably pretty sick. So, you might even need to give him another week or so to get back into it. But I mean, we talked all about the bench points, and it's a problem. I mean, it's not as big a problem in the NCAA tournament because you've got extended extra timeouts. You've got a lot more rest. You're only playing 2 games a week at most. So if they can just kind of make it there in one piece, it's not as big a deal, but you sure would like to have somebody like that who's as bouncy as he has and has the raw talent that he has, be able to put together a couple buckets just as another guy who can, take a little bit off the load for the starters,
And
that way.
Geronimo's earned some of the minutes that they have kind of been fluctuating between the two of them. He's a little more, he doesn't have the same upside, but he's a little more reliable to make the box out in the right spot or not try to do too much or not try to dunk on somebody from half court, So I think that's a little part of it too. But they're just not going to. Well, they're going to have to. If they go deep in March, they're going to eventually have to get something from somebody. But
it keeps playing.
You got what you got at this
DHS. Point. Keep hoping that something clicks and breaks through, and it just keeps not happening. I'm rooting for him. I really badly want it to happen. It just isn't.
Yeah, I don't think this is. I don't know if it's perfect fit for him. But they need him off the bench either way. So you better hope, at this point he's not going to be a big scorer, but if he can be reliable, not turn the ball over and play good defense.
That's it. If you look at Geronimo's line, 1 for 2. So he made the dunk. He got 2 points.
He missed the dunk and then he made a dunk.
2 steals and a block and a rebound. So he's contributing a little bit. He's helped.
Well, that's what he does.
At least not a negative.
In there, he always makes play. He always does something to help you. I feel like he's the most reliable energy off the bench.
Yeah, I have I wanted more Geronimo earlier in the season. I was shocked that he kind of got buried on the bench a little bit because he does give you some things, and he means you can split Reese and Queen and not totally lose anything. Certainly on the defensive end, you probably gain something. It was a pretty impressive, Chris Wilcoxian dunk miss as well. We had 2 of those tonight because Queen missed one as well. That kind of almost went off in the stands.
Reese missed the one.
Oh, it was Reese. That's right.
And he shoveled it into him that was a cool moment. Like the freshman picking up, helping the senior avoid the embarrassment or shake off the embarrassment of the missed dunk and giving it back to him for the dunk. I was looking at the schedule. So this team is, 6, 10, 12, 15 points away from being undefeated for the past 3.5 months. The only loss, obviously during this stretch, the only losses were Ohio State and Northwestern by a combined 5 points, both of them on last-minute shots. So they're literally a couple of, semi-fluky losses away from, 13 in a row, something like that?
Yeah.
Top 10. I feel like it feels like they're a top 10 team. They feel that good. The only thing is like the bench, obviously, but starting 5. Jeez.
And the other question is is it just, are we going to get into the tournament and then the Big Ten's just going to get slaughtered and we're going to be like, okay, well, they weren't playing the best competition.
Right. And that's all. You always got to keep that in the back of your head. Like, you never know. Like, the Big Ten looks pretty good. And the out of conference, they did pretty well showing up against other level squads. So, but you just never know. You just never know about any of this stuff. But that's why it's a sport. That's why better teams lose to lesser teams sometimes because it's not all about what's on paper. And I think in this case, I don't mind they'd lost a couple games along the way. That's fine. They're going to have to understand the stakes here. They can't just go blowing everybody out and expect to keep doing that. They're not that good. But they are a very good basketball team. They haven't been blown out by anybody. Every game they've lost, they've been really close to and damn near should have won. So it's just this honestly, I think we'll look back and see this as one of the weirder seasons in a while because they're never out of a game, ever. Like, there's nothing you can do to beat down this team. They always come back. They're always there at the end. And I think part of it is just the things that worry you just a little bit, the defensive and every once in a while could be a little bit of a struggle getting stops when they need one, and then being able to pull out all those close games because you're going to get in the NCAA tournament and you're going to get close games. It always happens. Yeah, nobody's going to be immune from that.
Well, maybe part of it is just that all the starters are playing so many minutes at the end of the game. That's partially why they're not pulling out the end of the game, because they're a little bit fatigued. They're playing 33, 35 minutes, over 30 always. If they got more of a break, maybe they'd be a little fresher.
Well, this version of them right now, though, is so different from the one like 2 months ago. Like everybody is kind of slid into their lane, all 5 of those guys, to where now it feels like just kind of fluid and organic who's going to go on each possession. It's not like a guy wanting to shoot it, or a guy hogging the ball, or a guy wanting to shoot it, but tentatively passing it out. Like it seems like things are really flowing in terms of the offensive chemistry and picking their spots.
And it really does seem Martinelli made a great comment during the game that their defensive intensity always picks up when they're making buckets. Like after a bucket, you can always count on them to really, really D it up. And when they're not making buckets, that's when they struggle. So they do give up runs, and they do seem to cascade a little bit where they really can't get stops when they need them. Again, that'll just bother me a little bit until it stops. Probably bother me all year because things bother me. But if you had if we're not just going to talk about everything that's great, there are a few things that you are concerned a little bit about. That's one of them. I think obviously the depth is always going to be an issue. If you have a night where not just the Selton's off, you've got Selton and you've got Gillespie off, or you got Reese off. Like there are going to be nights when that happens.
Yeah, Reese, he could average 20 plus a game if he could snatch a few more of those passes and loose balls. That's the one flaw there now that he's hitting free throws. But yeah, there's not. So now we got a whole week before Michigan State, which we've been talking about.
I was just looking at the schedule.
Xfinity and the attendance and everything. That place is just going to be bubbling to the only catch is that it's at 6:30 at night on a Wednesday.
Yeah, that's a bummer. Hard to get around the Beltway for 6:30, right?
And Wednesday's our normal night. So
yeah, we're going post game for that one, regardless. That's what we're doing. That's happening.
Regardless, I guess so. And then
it's happening. No, if they lose, you got to talk about when they lose. That's Michigan State's good. That's a game they should win. They'll probably be KenPom favorite by 3 or 4 maybe. Just mostly
because they win out. If they win all 4 of these games, hypothetically, what are they seeded? 3? Can they get that high from that?
At least that means they're beating Michigan and winning at Michigan. Sorry, they're beating Michigan State and at Michigan in that stretch as well.
Yeah, that's putting you on a 3 line. I think. I mean,
I think the big 25 and 6. It'd be 25 and 6. Like, yeah.
What's that, Jeff?
I said they'll win both of the Michigan games and lose at Penn State on a buzzer beater.
That'd be a very Maryland result for sure. But part of me wants to you really hope these guys do finish the season strong. Like they've had a really great season. You don't want to see them fall apart a little bit here. It's always if you're a Maryland fan, you're always waiting for the next thing to fall over, and that it worries you a little bit. But I'm excited. This is fun. This is what it's supposed to be. You got 3 tough games in a row, and then Northwestern, who you should ragdoll given what they did to you up in Chicago. And this is what we're here for. So enjoy yourselves. I mean, they're going to be in the top 20. Obviously, next week they don't play a game again until next Wednesday. So Monday they'll wake up to a nice ranking, and you'll have a real barn burner on Wednesday. I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's been this kind of energy and buzz around the program with the fans, everything else. Maybe since the beginning of that, the 2015-16 season when everybody thought they would get to number 1. Like the Cowan year, the COVID year, that's in the conversation. But by this point, they were kind of in a tailspin. It felt like they were going in the wrong direction.
Well, they were fine. They were fine to right now because I think at this point, I think they were up I think they were 2 or 3 games clear with 4 to go or something like that.
3 with 5, I think it was.
3 with 5, yeah, and they lost, I think, 2 of the 3 of the 5, right? So it definitely started falling apart like now. But leading up to now, I feel like people were feeling that team. I think they were top 15 or so around that time. So it seems somewhat similar, and we never know exactly how that was going to end up going. This time, hopefully, there won't be a global pandemic we have to worry about that cancels everything.
Well, Billy Keggs is in the chat. He says they were 12-3 and lost 3 of the last 5. So
there you go.
Hit it, Larry.
Yeah.
Hit Billy Keggs? Oh, sorry. Here you go.
Jeff's exactly right.
There you go. Paul, don't be so mad. Jeff told me to do it.
I'm going to look. Hey, any of you guys tech people, I will pay you money to go through our old podcasts and find them complimenting me about things, because I know it happened. I'm just not the type of guy who's selfish enough to clip it and have it played over and over and over again. But now the gloves are off.
All right. Okay. I think we have to stop now. We won't do it anymore, Paul.
Well, just save them up. Like if Jeff has a really good take, like a month from now, drop
Boom.
it. You just can't give me 6 of those a night. I can't handle that.
Well, this is fresh off the last show when it happened, so that's why.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
We just need some learnings here.
Yeah. All right.
Well, if you're a subscriber, or if you are and you just didn't see it, I posted some scoop about a overseas prospect who could be a real possibility for next year. So get on there and check that out.
How good is the overseas possibility?
He looks good. He looks pretty good. It's not one of those guys who's like projected lotto, but definitely potential. And I wondered, there's a possibility they could go over there for a couple guys. It's worked out pretty well for Illinois,
I hear that Europeans get drafted higher than.
That's funny. He's funny with those comments. Like he loves some hyperbole, man. That one. Yeah. Queen would go number 1. Let's see. Queen would go number 1 if he was a white European, which obviously he wouldn't go. I mean, the point is probably valid, but he's never been number 1.
I think his point. He's making the point that he has a European style game,
right?
And if he can,
and then there was the one about VHS. I think the greatest player I've ever recruited. I don't know. Sometimes he just gets a little carried away. He gets a little excited.
Yeah, he definitely gets. He gets rolling
earlier a couple weeks ago, or no, this is like 6 weeks ago. He had Malachi Palmer on his radio show, and he said he's a future superstar.
Maybe he is.
Hope so. Maybe. I mean, I like his game a lot. The game needs to slow down for him a little bit, but I like the tool set. But yeah, he gets rolling a little bit.
Superstar is just a big word. Like
it's a pretty big. Very specific.
Well, maybe I think he's probably just trying to build up their confidence.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Again, the thing Maryland's winning basketball games. Nobody cares what you have to say. I mean, that's what it is.
If they were more amused than critical.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. It's like, okay, yeah, that's cool. That's funny. Last year when they're playing like crap, it's not funny, and every word gets parsed all the way down the line. So it is what it is. Feel yourself a little bit, Kev. That's all right.
Maybe
he should be feeling himself. He's done a really good job this year. He did a great job putting the team together, and has done a great job. And he deserves a lot of credit. He does.
Can't argue that. Can't argue that one bit.
Did we tell them we have our guest next week? That we have Damon Evans coming on.
I was going to let you do that if you wanted to, but yeah, go ahead. We have Damon Evans coming on.
Yeah, next week, which will be good because I don't think he does his weekly radio hit or whatever. But
well, it won't be live.
Yeah, we're gonna tape this one, and
it's gonna be,
maybe we'll just drop that Monday or something. Since we'll do the post game live show Wednesday, maybe that works. We're workshopping this, obviously.
Yeah. When is it?
If they go tomorrow, if they get to the Sweet 16, we need to do a March Madness live show. I don't care if it's in Seattle, Antarctica. We going. What do you think?
Okay.
I've heard worse ideas.
I feel bad for anybody who's watching us planning travel at 11:23 on a Thursday night.
Why do I require a delay button?
But you haven't been too cussy tonight, Larry.
Well, like
we need like the dump button.
It was an easy win. That's why he's not as fired up because
it was an expected win, and it was a little better than the analytic prediction. If they had won by 30, it'd be more exciting. If they had won by single digits, then it would be like worse. But it was about good enough.
Took care of business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Took care of business. Yeah. Well, I have had instances in the past where I should have had a delay button, so we'll see. There are a few moments. But listen,
how many
shows have we done? We're probably over 200 now. I don't even know what it is. So it's 200 hours of talking.
Yeah,
I don't know many people who are just never going to say something stupid. We all have. You say something stupid, you mess up, and it just happens when you're talking that long. And if so
pretty much
we're human. No one's perfect. We're human. So
yeah, and there's some people getting on us about asking tough questions, Damon Evans. Don't worry about that, y'all. We're gonna.
You should see my list of questions, my friend.
We got. I mean, look, we're not going to nail the guy. He doesn't deserve to be nailed for stuff. But we've got questions. We've got things that matter, and they're being pretty generous with his time for letting us do this. So don't worry about it. You're going to get some good stuff from us.
There's going to be good stuff. Yeah. All right. I think we have sufficiently recapped the show, and the audience is starting to dwindle. So that's the sign that we've pushed.
Overstayed our welcome.
Yeah. So a great win, a good win, very good, solid win. You needed this one. Now you get your 6-day break, and the big one coming up. Beat Michigan State, and it's on. It's on. Beat Michigan State. They're looking at, if they beat Michigan State, they're looking almost for sure at a double bye. They're looking really good for that double bye. So a lot of good things to look forward to, and let's hope they keep doing it.
Yeah. So keep on the lookout. We'll have Damon Evans probably on Monday, and then we'll be post game again after Michigan State on Wednesday night. So come join us, have some fun. Hopefully celebrate another win and get to dream about tourney venues and whatnot.
That I can't wait. Well, we're gonna do a post. We'll do a selection show, post selection show.
Yep.
We usually have.
I should call Patrick about that right now. So, well, maybe not right now because it's almost midnight, but tomorrow.
Yeah. When is that? It's 3-ish weeks away, right?
3 weeks from Sunday, or 2 weeks from? No, it's 3 weeks. There's 2 more weeks of regular season.
Oh, and I was thinking
and then the conference tournament.
Yeah, it's 3 weeks away. Okay. All right, everybody. Hey, if you have not clicked like on the show for us, please do that. If you're in YouTube, I know a lot of people are watching on X, but please follow, subscribe. If you're on X, follow the account, please. If you're on Twitter, subscribe, please. All that stuff really helps us out a lot. Thank you guys very much. Look for the Damon Evans interview coming up, and then we're very likely going to be going live post-game next Wednesday after the Michigan State game. We'll see you guys then. This is IMS Radio.